through with these directives, because I never comply with the directive without taking it to the board. All through the things I've signed, I always obtain a board resolution. If I cannot, I'll call a board meeting. I never go direct and execute their operations, their directives.
Is this statement with regard to the past or with regard to what happened, what ensued afterwards about getting board resolutions?
Before and after. When I was acting as managing director, all throughout, I always obtained a resolution. When I became my balance and all the things after the 27th of September, all were issued. I passed everything on to the board for their approval.
We'll come to the things that happened after. But obviously, even if you had asked the deputy to take action as usual, you had responsibility to make sure
yes, I have responsibility.
That usual was in accordance with your policies and your rules. Didn't you check that a letter had just been written immediately that same day to Trust Bank to pay 15 million? Were you aware? When did you become aware that the matter did not go to the board?
As I said, madam, when I was taken over, I was given about 10-page handing over notes.
Yes, my question is, did you become aware, and when did you become aware that the matter had not been taken to the board?
That the matter has been?
The 15 million loan request had not been taken to the board.
It was after a few weeks when I started my operation, because I actually took over operations by the end of September 2017.
Did you seek a ratification by the board, as would be normal? Your money was spent to a loan to Office of the President to purchase Tobaski Rams.
Yeah. Yes.
It didn't go to the board. You said, well, you were trying to find your balance.
Yes.
But did you take it to the board subsequently for ratification, as would be normal?
I am not quite sure whether the next board meeting I took it to the board. But all my transactions I do, that I sign, I always obtain a board resolution. As I've said, I was away for 2 years, and I just arrived that month, and I was really trying to get my balance, and I asked them to continue as usual whilst I tried to go through my handing over notes.
Who was your deputy? Is that Saber Tufal?
My deputy was Saber Tufal.
But who was the applicant for this loan?
The applicant for the loan?
Yes. Could the Office of the President borrow money, 15 million, to buy rams, Mr. Graham?
You mean from the Office of the President?
Could the Office of the President borrow money from Social Security?
Yes, they can.
On what basis?
They are the ultimate custodians.
Under what this section of the Act could Office of the President borrow money?
It was an investment. They borrow under investment. It's investment. It's not free of charge. They should have paid with interest. So it's under the heading of investments.
Under investments,
yes,
Office of the President?
Yes, we can give loans as a form of investment.
I'll have to be convinced of that. They are not a member. They are not a member. They are not a member of your scheme, are they?
If you go to Section 39 of the Social Security Act, we are entitled to give out loans.
To who?
To the government or to member institutions.
Okay, this is the government.
Yeah, it's under the investment policies.
Okay. Who is mandated to give investment? Well, we've discussed that. That's the board. In this case, what is the normal procedure if you are going to give a loan, make a loan? What is the procedure?
There are two sets of procedures.
Yes.
You have the usual procedure and the unusual procedure.
An unusual procedure cannot be a procedure, Mr. Graham. Could
Pardon?
you tell us an unusual procedure cannot exist in terms of corporate governance, can it?
Well, we refer to it as unusual procedures because...
Tell us, what I want to know is the right
the usual procedure.
Not the usual.
the unused.
What procedure your corporate governance documents indicate? That's what I want to know. Yes.
The procedure is, if an institution wants a loan, the institution will apply, send in an application letter, together with a board approval from their board that they should go ahead with the loan.
The board of the institution.
The board of the institution. And also they should send off about minimum 2 or 3 years audited accounts and a brief background of what they want to do with the money. And when we receive that, we'll send it to an investment committee. The investment committee will assess the loan, check whether, make some few checks here and there to ensure that monies given out will be paid, and also whether it is in line with the Constitution, with the Act. And after that, they do the recommendation to management, and if they, assuming that the recommendation is positive, management will take the recommendation, look at it again, and clear it, and then take it to the board of directors. The board of directors, assuming that they okay it, will then be taken to the line ministry for final approval. And after that, when it comes back, that's the time now we come together to check and to build up an agreement, which we'll send to the solicitors to do the fine-tuning, and then we sign the agreement, and then we can start issuing the loan. That's what we call the usual.
Was there a special, that is what you, the management, called usual procedure?
Usual procedure.
But the procedure you have described is the procedure that is provided by your policies?
Yes, the procedure provided by the policies.
Is there an unusual procedure provided by your policies?
By the policies, yes.
There is an unusual procedure provided by, okay. Yes. Which policy?
The management policy. Management policies. That is, when a directive is received from the highest office, it overrides all the procedures below my command. And we refer it to our seniors, our bosses. That is the governing body.
This is the board.
The board. And the time when we are under the Ministry of Finance, we will also refer it to the Ministry of Finance. So I always obtain 2 approvals. One from the board, the governing body, and then I will write to the Minister of Finance and obtain approval from them before we execute the directive.
All right, you said the first one was exceptional because you were trying to find...
Yes, these 2 were exceptional. Definitely I was busy.
Which 2?
The 2 loans you said. I think there were 2 loans.
I just referred to one, 15 million. Is there another one that was exceptional?
I think there was another one they did when I was busy. Maybe it's the 27th of the year or the next year, I don't know. But I think there were 2 loans that took place when I just arrived.
Okay. All right, let's move on to SC 21. Can you collect SC 20?
SC 21, please.
No, don't worry about the numbers. Look at those documents.
Yes, the SC 21.
This is in relation to the acquisition of an aircraft.
Yes.
27 September 2012.
Yes, yeah.
You were the managing director at the time?
Yes, in fact, this is the second loan I was talking about.
And this is a loan for $4.5 million?
Yes, please.
This loan did not go to the board. We have your minute which says for urgent action.
Yes.
It's addressed to DFI. Who is DFI?
That's the Director of Finance.
When you said for urgent action, what did you expect?
It's to go through the normal procedures that they should adhere to. It's together with the Deputy Managing Director. Both of them. I addressed it to them.
Mr. Graham, apart from this minute for urgent action, is there any other minute that you had sent to the Deputy Managing Director and the Director of Finance that would have indicated that they should go through the normal procedure.
Yes, I think I made a minute there. We said that...
Sorry, what are you looking at?
There's a minute there.
On which page? On the,
yeah, the third page.
Oh. On the document dated 28 August 2012?
Yes, please.
Can you read it out?
I said, due to the high level of confidentiality as expressed hereunder, I would rather you handle this transaction personally and with care. Please proceed with the draft loan agreement together with the repayment schedule for further discussion with the SG, Secretary General. Okay,
could you tell us what procedure was followed in approving this loan?
The procedure was, we made a loan agreement. There was a loan agreement as to how this loan should be paid back. And
did it go to the board?
This is the second loan I'm saying that it happened the same day. I mean, 2 weeks after I arrived. This is the second loan, where I really cannot remember them, to be factual, because I just arrived within 3 weeks, 2 sets of loan were there, and I don't know what was the procedures they were using for the past 2 years. So I asked them to continue as it is until I get my balance before I proceed as I usually lead the corporation.
Who was this loan being made to?
Pardon?
Who was the loan being made to?
It is stated there who the loan was made to Gambia government. It's between Gambia government and Social Security.
Did you have a policy about lending to Gambia government? What procedure to be followed? You had described to us the procedure in lending to member institutions.
Yeah, Gambia government should make an agreement where they should tell us how, even though it's a directive, but they should tell us how it should be paid. And then we'll make an agreement with them.
That was the policy?
Yes.
Was there a specific written policy on the making of loans? Was there a specific policy, written policy on how loans can be made?
A policy is an investment policy we have. We don't have specifically, because loans is under investment. We have an investment policy.
You have an investment policy?
Yes.
It doesn't distinguish between the government and member institutions?
Not really, no.
So for government, you only make loan agreements? You take it to the board?
All institutions will make loan agreements. For all institutions.
At the time you took over, do you recollect what the status of the fund was? The status of the National Provident Fund?
Yes, it was not in a very good shape. In fact, this is all because so many things happened during my absence, and that's why I really wanted to study the situation of the corporation, more so on the financial side of it. And it was not very good. The state was not very good as before. So we tried to do our best. In fact, it was a continuous firefighting I always have after that to manage.
Can you be specific as to the state of affairs? Do you have any, can you point us to any, was there any report? Did you have any handing over between yourself and your predecessor?
Not in line with the financial aspect. It's just the activities that I need to follow and the activities that I need to follow up with. and what has been briefly done and what is yet to be accomplished in line with what he was doing.
Did you request for a report of the status of the finances of the corporation at this time when you took over?
Yeah, it's there in the accounts. It's in the accounts.
It's in the accounts?
Yeah.
What do you mean it's in the accounts? Did you have
the
a money?
The financial status of the corporation is seen clearly in the accounts, in the audited accounts.
But at this time when you took over, you had an audited, what was the most recent audited accounts that you had?
2012, it was 2011 accounts. I think it was very at that time.
Yeah, but one would expect coming in as managing director of such a big institution that you would have had some sort of report from on the finances of the institution. Did you commission one? Did you request for one on the status of affairs?
An audited account is as good as anything. Yeah, I took the 2011 audited account and I looked through it and I would straight away know the financial status of the corporation. And the rest will be management accounts. The management accounts, I went through them. You get the various analysis, you get the weekly balances, you will know the status.
And you did that?
Yes, I did that. That's why I was quite busy doing this.
So can you refer us to, so those records are there?
Yeah, the audited accounts, 2011 is there. Yes, please.
4.5 million was a great amount of money, a great deal of money.
Yes, please.
Right. You said there was no board. It didn't go to the board because you were trying to find your feet.
I'm not quite sure whether it went to the board, actually. I'm not quite sure because actually I was not the one who dealt with it.
Who was the chair of the board when you took over?
Mr. Amadou Samba.
This is $4.5 million. You can't remember whether it went to the board. Would the loan agreement go to the board? At what stage would you do a loan agreement? One would expect that you would go to the board, get the board's approval first before a loan agreement is entered into.
Usually before I do anything, I take it to the board to get the board resolution.
But you can't remember whether that was done in this case. That is what you're saying.
Because that was the time I just arrived.
All right, let's move on to the next loan that we have. Please let us know if there are any other loans that we missed. In 2013, 16 January 2013, exhibits SC22.
Yes, yes.
You have SC22 with you?
22.
Yes, you have it?
Yes, I did.
A loan of 200,000 was made to GRTS, which is still outstanding. 16 January 2013. You received, this is a letter from the Office of the President referring to a recently signed contract between GRTS and LC2 International for transmission rights for the Africa Cup of Nations tournament.
Yes, please.
And signed by Dr. Njoguba. And the records show that that this was dated 16 January 2013. The records show that the next day, the 17 January 2013, the Deputy Managing Director and Mr. Cham wrote to Trust Bank requesting for this amount to be paid. Yes, you were Managing Director.
I was Managing Director, but I was not. As a Managing Director, you have the Deputy Managing Director which shares my office. I may have been away and then this transaction took place. But I'm aware that the transaction took place. But I'm not the one who dealt with it. As you can see, it was signed by the Deputy Managing Director and the Director of Finance.
Yeah, but the previous one was signed by the Deputy Managing Director and the Director of Finance.
Yes.
And you had authorized them to do so.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this loan? This is a loan that did not go to the board. That's obvious.
I'm not quite sure what I did not go to the board.
Because it's 16 January 2013. The next day, 17 January 2013, the bank was authorized to pay.
I'm not quite sure whether it didn't go to the board.
Did you check? This is a substantial loan.
Yes, it is a substantial loan, and I checked that it was a directive given by the OP, and it was in the books of accounting, and I cannot recall right now whether it actually went to the board, because I just cannot
Mr. Cham was here and he said it didn't go to the board.
He said it didn't go to the board. Then I think it is not Mr. Cham. It should be the board secretary who should be in the right position to know whether this thing went to the board.
You are the managing director. Whether you were there, Mr. Graham, or you came after, if a matter was not done in the right way, there are steps to rectify that. Do you recollect whether this matter was taken to the board for ratification subsequently?
I took all those matters when I did.
Do you recollect whether this one was taken?
Yes, I told the board this. I told the board.
It went to the board for ratification subsequently.
Not actually for ratification because it was already been done, but I told the board that these loans were taken and the office, the management has already paid it and the board did not object to it. So it's more or less it's a ratification. But the board was involved, the board was informed about these loans.
I'll show you. Can you collect those exhibits? I'll show you. Exhibit SC23. Mr. Graham, who was the board secretary at this time?
I think it was Mr. Foon.
Mr. Foon.
Babukar Foon.
Mr. Babukar Foon.
I think so.
And of course, I
think either Babukar Foon or Raymond Jai.
I expect that you kept minutes of all board meetings.
Oh yes, oh yes.
And resolutions that are passed.
Yes.
This is a loan, it seems, so with regard to equipment, including tractors, as far as we can see from the documents that we have, for the purchase of equipment that is on behalf of Gambia Groundnut Corporation.
No, this is John Deere I'm seeing here.
John Deere tractors.
Yes.
John Deere tractors.
Yeah.
And other equipment. What can you tell us? This is June?
No, it was not my time.
This is not during your time?
No.
Okay. All right. Yes, you said you came in
August.
August, yes. All right, very well. But when you came, you took over office, you found this loan?
Yes.
You found this loan?
Yes, this loan was there in the books.
What can you tell us about this loan?
What I can say is that when I read through some of the documents, I realized that it was instructions given to buy tractors from, I don't know whether it's from South Africa, from John Deere or so. And the instruction, I think, came from finance, if I can remember. But I don't know much about the loan, but I know it's in our books of accounting.
When you took over, as at the time you took over, what was the debt portfolio? Do you recollect?
The time I took over, it was almost 1.004 billion or so.
Billion?
Yes.
But you continued to make loans?
Yep. Yes. Yes, we continue
yes,
to
do you have an explanation?
We continue to invest.
And these were, you continue to what?
To invest.
Invest where? As far as I can see, these loans, particularly the loan, there was no loan agreement for the loan for 15 million. There was no interest indicated, and these loans were outstanding and unpaid.
Yes, please.
Do you call them investments?
Yes, it's investment, because it's under investment we give out loans. Loans are a form of investment, and that's what we give. And,
even though the portfolio was non-performing?
Pardon?
Even though the portfolio was non-performing?
Yes, if the portfolio is non-performing, we still give out loans with the hope that it will perform. And the rationale behind this, my honor, is that the government taking these loans are the ultimate custodians of the funds, not the management of Social Security. That's where the misconception is all about. We are not the custodians, we are not the ultimate custodians of Social Security funds. It's the government. So if the ultimate custodians keep calling for the money, all we have to do is to ensure that we advise them properly that this money is taken out of the funds must be paid back. If they are not paid back, it will affect the financial status of the corporation. And that we did in writing and verbally. We advise them to do that. But since they are the ultimate custodians, there is nothing much we can do beyond the executive.
You call them the ultimate custodians of the funds. Are you referring to any specific section of the Act?
Yes, I refer to, let's see Section 5 of the Social Security Act, subsection 1.
Which says what?
That one gives the governing body of the corporation. The provision under Section 5, subsection 1, talks about the governing body of the corporation. And the governing body of the corporation is the board of directors. And subsection 1 under section 5 states the list. It gives the list of the members of the governing body. The first one, it says, is the chairperson. The chairperson is appointed by the president. The vice chair is Ministry of Finance. The third important member of that board is the PS of Lands. These are the three main people in the board. Now, if you go to section 5, under subsection 2, it gives another, there's another provision which states that for all non-ex officio members of the board are appointed by the president. In other words, the other members of the board are appointed by the president. So if the provision of the Act, the state appoints the governing body of the corporation, I will see that corporation as a public enterprise owned by the state, because they are the ultimate custodians. And it's for a very good reason why it's given under the state, because the main mission of the corporation is to provide social protection. And I don't know which other institution in the country can better provide social protection for the people's money other than the state. So it is through this window that the long arm of the state usually come and take the money as in the form of loans and use it as it deems fit in their eyes for the best use of the funds. So we can only advise them that it cannot be a one-way transaction, it has to be a two-way transaction. And if it's a one-way transaction, eventually it will not be sustainable. But they are the ultimate custodians.
Well, that's an interesting analysis of the Act.
Yes.
Certainly. Mr. Graham, I must say I cannot agree with you, of course, but that is beside the point. The Social Security Corporation, do you really view it as an enterprise?
Pardon?
Do you really view it as a public enterprise?
It is a part public enterprise and a part private enterprise, hence the name parastatal.
Parastatal, part public.
It falls under the category of parastatal. partly owned, state-owned. And with this provision that I've just quoted, it makes it more public than private.
What is your impression, or what is your view of the fact that the law establishes various funds, and the law also sets out how those funds were to be managed, specifically managed?
Yes.
It does, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes. And those funds, no part of those funds comes from the state. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
These funds come from the working public.
It comes from
the working public, working members of the public.
Yes, please.
Is that not correct?
Yes, please.
So, but from your own explanation, you seem to be saying that as far as you are concerned, whatever the government for the time being wants to do with the money is fine by you.
I did not say, sorry, I did not say that with all due respect. I don't say whatever they want to do with the money. If they come for the money, not for personal use, they come for the money to invest for national investment, for national improvement, for the economy, we have no option but to give it to them. If they ask me for money for their personal use, that my professionalism will not allow me to give it to them. But if it's for national thing, then I'll have to give, because that will be inconsistent.
And you consider $15 million is spent on buying rams for sale in the national interest?
It is, because it's for workers. These are the workers' money. They were buying it for the workers because they were under stress. We can all experience that in Tobaski. Ship costing for 30,000, 28,000. So if they say they want to help the workers by ordering this ship from Mauritania so that they can sell at cost price to workers in order to ease the pain of workers, I will consider it as national interest.
And did they submit anything to you in terms of any documentations that would support the loan application, that would show how it was going to be managed, the profit that was going to be made? What standard did the application meet?
They are going to pay after the sales. They will pay back the funds to Social Security.
And this,
that's what they said on paper.
And you think this was a proper loan for Social Security to make? Is that what you're saying? Based on the application that you had from the Office of the President?
Yes, it is a loan for national interest.
Is the Office of the President in the business of selling rams?
It's not in the business of selling rams, but it's not in the business of selling rams. It's not in the business of buying equipment, but it is in the business, well, not business, it is in the interest. They are there for the interest of the public. So if it's deemed fit in their eyes that they want to help the nation, or the workers in particular, whose funds we are controlling, or they are the custodians of the funds, if they want to help those workers, I don't see something that is grossly wrong about that. What is really worrying is them not paying back. But the actual act of buying the ship for easing the pain of workers, I don't see anything wrong in that, if they are going to pay.
We hear what you're saying. We hear what you're saying. Mr. I'm saying we hear what you're saying. Are you normally, when even members apply, your members of the fund,
yeah,
who you say you can give loans to according to your act, if they apply for loans, do you normally check whether the purpose of the loan is something within the mandate of the institution?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, we do. For example, institution can apply for building loan for their staff. That institution is not in the business of building loans, of making or building whatever, but they apply on behalf of their staff. We are mandated, we give them the loans, not the individuals, but we give the institution the loan. And the institutions will now give the loans to their staff.
But the purpose is stated, and the staff are members of your scheme.
Yes, the staff are members of the scheme.
Yes, and their rules and your law allows you to give loans for members of your scheme. Is that not correct?
Yes, please.
Yes, but is there any part of your rules that would allow you to give loans to an institution to do a business for which it is not mandated? That's my question. Do you check that?
Well, we check it. If they send for a loan, we check the purpose of the loan.
You see, Mr. Graham, I can understand if you said, because it's the office of the president, we had no option but to give it to them. But what I do not understand is your position that the office of the president can be in the business of selling rams.
I'm not saying they can be in the business.
That's what I'm hearing.
No,
or
I'm not saying they can be
that they
in the
can
business
buy
of
equipment.
selling rams.
Yes, that's what I heard you say.
If the office of the president deems its fit that that money they are using is the way they want to help the nation, it is not for me to say no. It's not for me to say they have business to do with that. What we want to see is they apply for a loan. As according to them, they apply for a loan to buy rams. The proper agreement is made, and then I suppose I was expecting them to pay back the money. But it is not for me to decide whether the highest office in the land to be in the business of sheep or not to sheep or something else.
But as at the time you continued to give loans, the office of the president had not paid any of its loans. Is that not correct?
That's not correct.
It is not, okay, they had paid some of the loans.
Oh yes, they paid some of the loans.
Like which ones?
Like the tent they took for about 86 million. We wrote to them and they paid. I remember doing Balagay's time. 21 AU Villa were taken from us and they paid. There's some loans they paid. They paid some loans. I can't remember right now all the loans that they paid, but they did pay some loans. They paid some loans.
All right. Mr. Chairman, we'll continue with the former MD Social Security on Monday. It is a convenient to stop. And when we come back, if you can get hold of some of the policies on which you rely, it would be helpful to the Commission if you have them. If you don't have them, please call the Secretariat tomorrow and indicate what you have and what you don't have. So we will get tomorrow Friday. You can contact the Secretariat if you don't have any of the policies that you refer, so we can collect them and have them available. All right?
Okay. So you mean I should come back tomorrow?
We come back on Monday.
On Monday?
At 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Yes, but you have referred to rules and policies. I'm saying if you have them, bring them. If you don't have them, call the Secretariat and say you don't have them, so they can contact the office, your office, former office, and collect the policies.
Okay.
All right? If you want to draw the attention of the Commission to any policy, we will have the act available, the act on which you're referring to. Okay?
Can I go now?
Wait for the Commission.
Also.
Can you collect the exhibits from Mr. Graham?
Collect.
Monday is what date? I read it there. Very well, we'll rise and we'll be back on Monday the 9th at 10 o'clock. Thank you.